country's health sector. Hello and welcome to Africa Live here on CGTN. I'm Mahia Mutua. Also coming up on the bulletin. Beijing protests entry of U.S. officials into Chinese consulate in Houston, Texas. And Chinese Great Wall Skills Training Center helps South African youth gain education and employment. Now, Somalia's Prime Minister Hassan Ali Khaire has had his term cut short by a motion of no confidence. Somalia's parliament voted to oust the Prime Minister on Saturday. CGTN's Astatal has more.
In a 170-8 decision, members of Somalia's parliament ousted Prime Minister Hassan Ali Khaire in a motion of no confidence. The vote followed a dispute over when to hold the country's national election. President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo and Khaire had been in talks with regional leaders on possibly holding the election on February 2021.
The Prime Minister's government lost the vote of confidence. The President should form a new government that is able to lead the country to a successful election. This Prime Minister's government has failed to lead the country to a peaceful election.
Khaire, who had been in office since March 2017, was the longest-serving Prime Minister in post-Civil War Somalia. During his time, he vowed to strengthen the country's security sector and fast-track institutional reforms. Several of Khaire's supporters within the government have denounced his ouster by the members of parliament.
When we call the press here, go live and announce that you ousted the Prime Minister's government without a motion and any legal jurisdiction, and neither did you give them a platform to defend themselves against the allegations. Immediately after the opening prayers, the second thing was the ouster of the Prime Minister's government. We can interpret that as a move to fail the nation.
According to Somalia's laws, President Farmajo has 30 days to appoint a new prime minister. In a statement, Farmajo said he accepted the legislator's decision to oust Khaire, adding that he will appoint a new prime minister soon. Astatal, CGTN.
Meanwhile, in Sudan, at least 20 people have been killed by gunmen in South Darfur. An estimated 22 people were injured in the attack. According to a local leader, the gunman attacked a village in the Dos area. Witnesses say they opened fire on villagers while riding on horseback and camels. Meanwhile, an Egyptian inventor has made a robot that can replace doctors in some tasks needed in the treatment and handling of COVID-19 patients. The robot is equipped with precise mechanics and can take nose and throat swabs required for coronavirus testing as well as temperature checks. Adel Mahroui has the details.
You have no fever. Please put on your face mask, says the robot. This is one of several robotic prototypes Egyptian inventors have recently created in efforts to curb human COVID-19 infections. 26-year-old engineer Mahmoud El-Komi built it to take over several tasks done by medical staff.
The robot is economically efficient. It will save usage of PPE equipment like suits, shields and face masks, which are needed by medical staff. It will save doctors from getting sick. No matter how much it costs, it won't be as much as saving a medic's life during the pandemic.
The robot can detect whether face masks are worn properly. It can monitor temperature readings of crowds, making it useful in many public areas, including hospitals. And if someone is not wearing a face mask or has fever, it sounds an alarm and informs an operator. And when positioned at gates, it will prohibit their access to other areas. According to El-Komi, when operated autonomously, it has an accuracy of up to 90% in detecting COVID-19 symptoms.
We could face biological wars or witness other pandemics which could be more fatal. This robot helps in enforcing distancing and could be very useful in the future. Several governmental entities have already contacted us, and we are currently planning on how to make that robotic technology widely available.
The young Egyptian engineer is currently working on version 3 of his prototype. This model is able to take nasal and mouth swabs for COVID-19 tests, and he's building an AI system so that the robot can look for symptoms of the disease in chest scans. The prototype costs about $5,000, a figure that will sharply drop when mass production of the robot begins. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
Nigeria's public healthcare sector has faced many challenges which are now being worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic. But the Central Bank of Nigeria is looking to strengthen the country's health sector so it can respond effectively in its fight against COVID-19. Deji Badmus has more.
If there's one thing the COVID-19 pandemic has done in Nigeria, it is to lay bare the abject state of the country's public health system. And the authorities are not shy to admit this.
This particular times is an eye-opener, and it has revealed the depth of the weaknesses in the system. If you travel the shores of this country, you will find out that we have over 10,000 primary health care centers constructed in wards and villages of this country that are abandoned.
And this is one of such abandoned primary health centers. Despite its very wretched state, the people of this rural community in northwest Kaduna State are still using it. Health centers like these are supposed to be the first line of response in Nigeria's fight against COVID-19. But in its current state and packed with patients like this primary health center could be an effective agent in the transmission of the virus. A private sector initiative is now stepping in to help to salvage the situation. Maurice Atoki heads the Africa Business Coalition for Health, or ABC Health for short, a not-for-profit organization set up by a coalition of business organizations in the country that is taking on the ambitious task of transforming primary health centers across Nigeria.
What we have is real, and certainly across the 774 local governments, there will be either new infrastructures of primary health care or adoption of the old infrastructures that were there before.
Nigeria's central bank is also stepping in with funds to help rebuild the country's health infrastructure and drive medical research, especially for COVID-19. Here in this hall, it's gathered medical experts and heads of the country's health agencies to drive medical research and come up with local vaccine for COVID-19 and other infectious diseases.
Currently, 20 projects valued at over 26.27 billion naira have been approved and funded by the CBN under our 100 billion naira credit support intervention for the healthcare industry. We expect that these grants will be channeled by these institutions to fund research and development of drugs, herbal medicines, and vaccines for the control, prevention, and treatment of infectious diseases.
These interventions are expected to reinvigorate the medical research industry in the country, which has been literally dead before now. And this man who heads the country's pharmaceutical society is happy about it.
CBN and the Bankers Committee decision to focus on the industry is very heartwarming because the intention is to build capacity. We have mandated our companies and pharmaceutical scientists to get into the research mode and begin to seek how they can produce locally developed items, both for fighting the virus and fighting other diseases.
All of these developments are spurred by the outbreak of COVID-19, and some medical experts say if the efforts are sustained, Nigeria may eventually be able to significantly cut down on the over $1 billion it spends on medical tourism annually. Deji Badmus, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
Let's shift our focus to South Africa now, where Chinese investment in vocational skills programs promises to create hundreds of jobs in the country. The Great Wall Skills Training Center offers scholarship programs for South African students, both locally as well as in China. The collaboration between leaders in academia is just one of the initiatives empowering local people to get new skills and jobs. CGTN's Travis Andrews has more on that story.
Since 2019, the Great Wall Skills Training Center has been helping students as well as unemployed people to get skills needed to get employment in the textile sector. The facility is part of the Confucius Institute at the Durban University of Technology. It's just one of several Chinese initiatives aimed at assisting South Africa tackle the high unemployment rate in the country.
Great Wall Skill Training Center, or we can call it a vocational skill practice center, is based on a local Chinese enterprise. And we are recruiting the students from the local society, normally are unemployed women and youth. Once they complete the training, the collaborative enterprise either directly hire them or recommend them to work in a related position in other companies.
More than 300 people were admitted in the center's first intake of learners. The open enrollment policy has contributed to the economic empowerment of local communities. With more than 6,500 registered Mandarin learners and over 180,000 participants, the Confucius Institute has not only been pivotal in the establishment of the center, but has also helped local students seek study opportunities in China. It believes there's much more in store ahead.
We will see more students exchange programs in South Africa in the near future. As I know, the demand of the South African students who want to study in China is increasing yearly. Currently, we have more than 3,000 South African students studying in China for degree study or shortened course, with various scholarship programs.
There are already over 81,000 African students studying in China, and the country has many TVET colleges. This means there are many more opportunities for South Africans seeking to learn much sought after technical skills. It's not just skill centers and student exchange programs that China is investing in, because leaders in Chinese academia are also coming here to apply their skills and knowledge into local higher education.
At my University of the Western Cape, which is in Cape Town, there's Professor Yongshin Shu, who holds the UNESCO chair in hydrogeology. So that's another example of Chinese helping at a South African university to achieve greater heights. And of course, China is also our partner in the Square Kilometre Array, which will become the biggest radio telescope in the world. So there's a diversity of Chinese-South African links in higher education.
For now, more Mandarin courses are being made available in schools and universities across the country, so that students who can speak the language will have the added benefit of pursuing careers in both China and South Africa. Travis Andrews, CGTN, Cape Town.
On to China, where Beijing has slammed the United States after federal and local law enforcement entered the Chinese consulate in Houston, Texas. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said the consulate is China's national property and the U.S. entry was a violation of international and bilateral consular treaties. Spokesperson Wang Wenbin added China will take the necessary response and measures. Earlier, the Chinese Consul General of Houston said the closure was sabotage and political provocation, but he expressed hope the friendship between the two countries will prevail. He added the Chinese embassy in Washington will ensure services to overseas Chinese people will continue. Beijing has retaliated by ordering the closure of the U.S. consulate in the southwestern Chinese city of Chengdu. In the U.S., clashes continue between federal agents and anti-racism protesters in Oregon's largest city, Portland. Thousands of demonstrators gathered outside the federal courthouse on Friday chanting Black Lives Matter. They shot fireworks at the building and threw glass bottles. Federal agents responded by firing tear gas and impact munitions. A police officer was injured and one person was stabbed and sent to hospital. Police say the gatherings are unlawful. Prosecutors have charged 18 protesters with illegal activities. Demonstrations erupted in Portland and across the United States 2 months ago after the police killing of George Floyd. Meanwhile, the United Nations has warned the use of excessive force and other tactics against the protesters in Portland could give rise to human rights violations. A UN human rights spokesperson on Friday called on the United States to protect its citizens' rights to peaceful assembly and to protest. There were reports earlier this month officers in camouflage and riot gear making arrests and pulling protesters into unmarked vehicles. You're watching Africa Live. It's time for us to take a short break. Here's what's coming up. Young Ugandan equestrians take to painting horses during the pandemic. And in our continuing series, Tribes in a Flux, we take a closer look at the Berber tribes in North Africa and their traditional woven rugs.
My family has been doing this artwork for the past 600 years.
My dream is to be the leading player in Africa in spice sector.
Nobody in the region consumes it. Even me cannot afford the vanilla cooking.
What we've created here is the elegance, the color, the celebration of life.
Welcome back. Now, people are the link to culture and tradition. In Morocco, where members of the Berber tribe live, a big part of the local culture is exemplified by the intricately woven rugs. This trade has been passed down through several generations as part of our Tribes in a Flux series. Today, we're exploring how long this Berber tradition can survive.
باقي كاينه ولكن اكثريه ديال الناس اللي سميتو ما كايناش في المنطقه ما كيستعملوهاش. باقي داكشي ديال الموسم، باقي كلشي التقاليد سكتوا على براها. الشباب اللي مازال مشبكين داكشي ديال الثقافه القديمه، واصلا دابا كيهضروا كيقولوا لك لا هادشي ديال التورات ما غاديش نتخلاو عليه وما غاديش نتنازلوا عليه. هو بالنسبه لي انا المراه الشلحاويه مسكينه الله يحسن لها وينها. المراه الشلحاويه كتمشي للجبل كتحطب، سواء كاين الرجل ولا ما كانش، هي كتعتمد على راسها، منها كلشي تقريبا.
تكن وانا مش مزغي كرت التسنتي انت استمع يمكن نقبل نشي خبيين في الجاي نقبل نشي خبيين على تكن تزازوت اجب نسطا
تمللتي
هذا نبهايم تمللت هنا زديغ غمين تدهين تزبغين
ولا الناس وتمن بزاف هذا السي نسطا
وتمن هذا السي نسطا بزاف بزاف فينا ودير كازنا يفهمن
السيرم تيضل الواعي لا شكال ام كنيت
لا شكال لا تبدون مزغوره تبدون مزغوره سيغران مكان مخلوق تاع شقمت ين الزربي شحال لكم معنا مثلا استكيتي تزرزر ايوا تي خسارين شحال ديك كانت لا تني ضبل لا كانت 4 شهور كاين 5 شهور
سير متزر بيدنا
شرات 4 يا الشر نسي غير ورقازة اسمي برا.
إلا ما كايناش المرأة طبعا ما غاديش تكون الثقافة ديال الشلوح، حيت أصلا كي قلت لك راه المرأة اللي معروفة في كلشي، معروفة بالزرابي، معروفة بالتربية ديال الدار، معروفة تمشي تحطب، معروفة تمشي تحلب البهايم، تمشي دير، تمشي تفعل. يعني كي قلت لك إلا ما كايناش المرأة القروية راه ما كاين والو، قاريين ما واعيين ما والو. هادشي من الجيل بالاجداد، ما غاديش نلقاو دابا هذاك الشيء ديال الاجداد مشى، بقى لينا غير شويه. مهم الثقافه ديالهم حنا هذاك الجلابه كنلبسوهم الرجال.
Let's take you to Uganda now, where a group of young horse enthusiasts are making the most of their free time. Instead of riding horses, they are painting them. CGTN's Leon Senyange now reports.
A mix of colors for yet another day of painting. Painting horses is one of the popular pastimes at this stable for these horse enthusiasts.
I'm making fish scales, and then we're going to color them in different colors.
The horses, Kyle and Winnie, make for the perfect canvas. They love the attention too, but there is always a favorite one to paint.
Winnie, because he's calm.
The children are allowed to use non-toxic paints to make their art creations. This may feel like an unusual activity, but the children here are actually enjoying the painting, and their impressions are quite unique. But horse painting has sparked debate about abuse of the animals. Animal activists argue that it's cruel and objectifies the horses. Jackson Adrico, who oversees most of the painting sessions, says they are protective of their horses.
The paints we are using, they're not so, as I say, like something that is so cruelty. So when it comes to that, it's just something that is quite a little bit friendly for them.
While the painting gives the horses a colorful look, it also encourages the children to develop better interaction with the animals. It is something Elijah Simwe has quickly learned.
Since I've been riding them, getting to know them, jumping on them, so I've really got their trust.
When all the work is done, the children's flowery painting and palm prints give the horses a different look and create a truly distinctive piece of art. Leon Sanyange, CGTN, Gayaza, Central Uganda.
On to the sports now. We kick off in Addis Ababa, where analysts and fans are concerned the Ethiopian Premier League could be scrapped altogether.